Hey, welcome back to the channel. This is Chrissy. I wanted to continue telling you my story about how Dave Ramsey changed my life and the life of my family. Yesterday we talked about how we sold our house and moved into an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment. And we stayed there for, I guess it was just shy. It wasn't a whole year, I don't believe. We didn't stay for the full lease. We actually ended up moving in with some friends. We moved into a bedroom within their house. So that saved us a few $100s also. Or I should say, yeah, a few $100s a month we saved by doing that. And we got to live with some friends. But then we moved from our then even smaller than our house. You know, we went from that 3,000 square foot house to the 2-bedroom apartment to 1 bedroom within a house. So everything we owned essentially moved into, everything we had left moved into this 1 bedroom of the house because our friends had already moved in everywhere in the house. So we weren't going to bring the rest of our stuff. So we sold more stuff, downsized even more to this 1 bedroom. We lofted our king size bed. So we lofted the king size bed. We had storage underneath. That's where we stored our dresser and our bedroom stuff. And then we had a couch and a desk where we put our computer, which we watch TV on. So, and we had a dog also. So we lived in that one space for, I don't know, again, probably close to a year before we were like, okay, it's time to, we'd already paid off all of our debt. We're starting to live the Dave Ramsey life. And we felt like, okay, it was time that we could buy a new house. But we weren't going to move into another 3,000 square foot house. We found a little 1,000 square foot house within the same town, and we were able to buy that. Yes, we did have a mortgage on it, but that was the only debt that we had. And we were paying cash for my wife to be going to school, nursing school. She already had her bachelor's degree, and it was time for a career change. And she knew that she wanted to be a nurse. So she worked incredibly hard. We paid cash for her to go to nursing school, and she became a nurse, which was much more income than we had previously been experiencing. Around that time, I was working in retail, and I was working on being promoted to an assistant store manager. I was finally promoted. She became a nurse, and we were finally making good money. Enough money to feel like we were in a good place financially. If you don't know anything about Dave Ramsey yet, you should, first of all. He has a series of baby steps that he calls them in order to get into a better place financially. And that starts with developing an emergency fund so that should anything happen, you're able to pay for it. And it starts small. It starts at $1,000 emergency fund. The $1,000 is typical, but based on your income, you could start with a $500 emergency fund. But we had that $1,000 emergency fund. We had paid off all of our debt, and we weren't accumulating any more debt. In order to pay off the debt, we used another one of his baby steps called the debt snowball, where essentially you pay the minimum balance on all of them except for the lowest balance, because then once you pay off that lowest balance, you take the amount you're paying on that plus the minimum on the next one, and you put that together, creating a snowball, which is paying everything off a little bit faster. Then you pay off the next one, you snowball that together, and you start rolling downhill, collecting snow and paying off that debt. So we were able to pay off our debt while we were at the first apartment. We paid off all of our debt. So the debt snowball works. We worked it. We continue to make sure that we weren't accumulating any more debt, to make sure that that debt snowball worked. So anyway, we are working Dave Ramsey real hard. The next step was accumulating 3 to 6 month emergency fund. So we did that, all while paying for Anne to go to nursing school. And for her to come home regularly and hear stories from her coworkers talking about how expensive nursing school is and how they were accumulating this debt, and then they would roll in every day with a Starbucks that they paid $6-7 for, and you got to ask yourself, well, what choices are you making to get you in the position that you want? We don't do that. We don't go to the coffee shop every day and buy a $7 Starbucks. We don't go to a restaurant every day to buy our lunch. We bring lunch. If she wants coffee, she's brewing coffee at home and bringing it in. We just have our eyes set on what our goals are. And by doing that, the phrase Dave Ramsey uses is, we live like no one else so that later we can live like no one else. So was what we were doing weird and different than everybody else? Heck yeah, it was. And we were okay with that because we were in a place that other people weren't in our position. We were paying for everything with cash. And we knew that that was going to put us in a position to be in a much better financial place by the time it was time to retire, if we could keep our eye on the prize. And we've been able to do that. We've been able to go on vacations and pay cash for them. We save for them before we go. I needed a hysterectomy a few years back, many years back actually at this point, and the doctor said, okay, well, let's get you scheduled. And I said, whoa, how much does this cost? And he, told me, I don't remember how much it was, whatever it was. And I said, okay, well, I'll schedule it after I save the money. And he, he was like, what? What do you mean? I was like, I mean, I'm not accumulating debt, so I need to save money for the surgery. And he was like, just real uncomfortable with that. Well, and I said, well, is this an emergency? Do I need this right now at this very moment? And he was like, well, no. And I said, well, then great. I don't need to accumulate debt, so we will save for it. And that's what we did. So anyway, that's sort of my Dave Ramsey story, in terms of getting the basics of Dave Ramsey. Like I said in the last video, we meet monthly. Ann and I, my wife and I, we meet and talk monthly. We go through our budget every single month. We talk about where how we did last month and what our plan is for the following month. We have our 3 to 6 months emergency fund. We don't accumulate debt. We pay for things as we go. We are maxing out our retirement funds. We are giving to organizations that we believe in, and we're not doing everything with a closed fist. We try and do everything with an open hand, and by doing that, it puts us in a good place mentally for our future. And we know that all the money that we get isn't just ours, and it's important to give back to our community and places that need it to make a bigger impact in the community and in the world. So that's what we do. I am going to end that here. I'm going to talk more about some of the tactics that we use and the way that we continue to keep ourselves in a good financial position. And yeah, thanks for stopping in.